are such a busy guy. You've got a couple of films coming out. You just directed a film. Talk to me first about that one. That's a screw job, isn't it? It's a wrestling movie.
Yeah, I've written, directed, and appear in a short film called Screwjob. It's in post-production at the moment. It's my first directorial effort, and yeah, I would describe it as a working class drama set in the world of British independent professional wrestling. It follows a female wrestler who feels like she's not getting the breaks, and she has a dilemma whether or not to take power into her own hands.
I think directing, coming from being an actor and then directing is not an easy leap, but it is probably easier because of all the sets you've been on and both television and film. You get a chance to watch other directors and learn, I think.
Agree. I think there's many different kinds of directors. Sam Bradford, who directed The Payday, he comes at it from a non-actor, camera, artistry. He's got the knowledge of the angles and the technology and the lenses and the lighting. The strength of an actor who is also a director is in the drama and the conflict and the emotion and working with the actors and getting the performances. On Screwjob, the DP was a big factor because I could trust him to just execute what was in my head, even if I didn't know exactly how to execute it technically. And after a while, he was like, "Yeah, I know what you want. And then it left me free to direct the actor or actors.
How did you get into acting? I mean, what brought you, into this bizarre world that we call show business?
It's a great question. I blame my family. Even though they would admit it, my family was at fault. My grandmother, every Tuesday after school, she would sit me down in front of a classic Hollywood movie, maybe with Gene Kelly, probably a musical, maybe a cowboy movie. And then Saturday nights was at my dad's flat watching some action flick. And then every night in the week, I'll be watching TV drama with my mother. And I think in another life, my dad and my grandmother should have been in the business because they were just total characters. But I guess add on to that, I was a very shy kid, and it was the ability to step into someone else's shoes who is confident, who knows what to say, can be very intoxicating.
When you pick a role, do you pick a role? Obviously, you've got to know who you're working with and all of that, but do you like physical roles, athletic roles?
Yeah, partly because of what I grew up on. There's, you've got your Shakespearean text-based, very wordy kind of zone, and then on the other end of it, you've got the physical, you've got the visual storytelling, you've got the Tom Cruise, the Sylvester Stallone, Arnold action movie kind of thing where you get your body to do the talking. And I think both can be wonderful, and I think depending on the movie. But yeah, I do, when you grow up watching 80s and 90s action and thrillers, watching Tom Cruise fall from the ceiling and Bruce Willis fall down, Nakatomi Plaza, or I do love those roles as well.
But there's something certainly Shakespearean about those roles, even because he's everywhere. I look at the romances in the action films and see Romeo and Juliet or King Lear, with his children. So you don't get far away from Shakespeare. It's
true. He lasts because he did everything. He did every major story type, and people often forget how violent and sexual his things are, and how naughty his language is, and how comedic as well as dark. There's elements of horror, so he did it all.
And you had the extra benefit of working with Patrick Stewart as kind of a Shakespearean mentor.
Yeah, one of my big turning points in my career, I got selected for a summer training school with the National Student Drama Festival, and it took place at the University of Huddersfield, which is Patrick Stewart's hometown. And they actually surprised us. We didn't know we were going to get Patrick Stewart coming in, but he came in. At the time, he was filming one of the X-Men movies, and it was a real game changer for me because I didn't realize he was a working class lad from the north of England. So it was a real moment and getting shown a few things by him was just inspiring, as you can imagine.
I would love to sit in a room with him and talk Shakespeare.
Oh yeah, I remember he said one story about how, because in the Royal Shakespeare Company you'd have multiple roles on the go at once. And he had loads of lines to learn, but he had one, it was like a spear carrier type role in one play. And he said, I only had pretty much one line. So I decided to, whilst I was standing there on stage, I thought I'm going to go through my monologue for the other play that I'm doing. And he said, lo and behold, when he did that, he missed his cue for his one line. And he said, so the lesson there is, focus, be in the moment, and don't let your mind drift to other stuff.
Be present.
Always. Yeah, be present.
Let's talk about the payday for a little bit. This is a white knuckle comedy. It's action, adventure, and yet it's got a lot of laughs in it.
Oh, well, thank you. And a white knuckle comedy, there's a phrase that I'm enjoying. Yeah, we wanted to make it it's obviously a crime caper heist movie, but we wanted it to have both the genre traditions of the good crime capers, we think, where there's real jeopardy, some action, but also some laughs and some style. But then also, we kind of also wanted to have a romance running through it at the same time. So hopefully we pack a lot of punch for the rental or purchase price.
Talk to me a little bit about your character, George. I mean, and his relationship with everybody.
So, how much to say without giving up?
Well, don't give up
too much of the plot. I would say George is the opposite in many ways to the leading character of Jen. He is a maverick chancer who has a chip on his shoulder and likes to do as less work as possible for maximum gain, and will take shortcuts wherever he can, and is a total cynic as well in the romance world. So he's gonna go on a bit of a journey and be challenged.
This portion of Screen Chatter is presented by VP Dental. Check out our great dental plans starting at just $16 per month. You're working with one of the greatest actors, I think, in the world today, is Simon Callow, who is an international treasure.
I mean, you said it better than me. Kyla, the leading lady, Kyla Fry, her and I, we know him most affectionately from Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls, opposite Jim Carrey, which obviously is probably not the thing that he wants to be first thought of, but we adored him in that. That was our first exposure to him. And obviously he has a massive catalogue of Shakespeare experience, as well as Oscar-winning movies, BAFTA-winning movies, and even, Hawkeye on Disney Plus. And so he's having a great career.
What an education to just be on set with him and just see how he approaches a line, how he speaks those lines.
Yes, and he was very specific with the language. And the first day he was on set, he actually, obviously I wrote the screenplay, so he'd pull me aside and he'd have his notebook and he'd point out a specific phrase and kind of ask me, now this here. And he'd say, if I change that word to this word, don't you think it's got more of a ring or a relevance to it? And I'd go, yep, let's do that, Simon. And but he didn't have many notes. But he was very specific. He had one or two things. He was like, I really don't think this is right. I want to say this. And he was right in both instances. So it was great.
Do you have a favorite scene in the film without giving too much away?
Oh, what a question. I think there's the scene in, I want to see how it plays in front of an audience, the scene in the lift where there's a bit of fisticuffs that go down. I feel like we've been getting some reactions from the trailer, so I'm interested to see how the audience responds to that. But yeah, apart from that, I couldn't pick it, depend on my mood.
Well, I think, the scene in the lift, how many days did that take to shoot? Because that's all choreography. I mean, that's got to be perfect every time.
Yeah, I think it was maybe 2 days. Mm-hmm. We had to move quick. When you're on a movie that doesn't have the budget of an Avengers or an Avatar, you've got to often get things done very quickly. Kyler and I have worked together quite a lot though, and we've both done physical things before, so we had a great stunt coordinator on board, so it was fun. But also I think at the time, Kyler, on one of the days, Kyler was, as fate would have it, she was struggling with like a back issue, and it was on the one day when we had to do the physical stuff, so she was an absolute trooper and just plowed on through the pain. So maybe that shows in the movie, the anger that she has towards my character.
Yeah, well, it's good motivation, I think, to be.
Yeah.
When you're doing a series, that's got to be a lot different than when you're doing a feature film, I would think, because you have a chance in the series to explore that character a little more.
Yes, and it's probably the motivation that drove The Payday a lot, because it's the first time I've had a full leading role that features in the entire story, which I haven't really had before. I've done Peaky Blinders, Doctor Who, War of the Worlds, lots of great BBC stuff, but often it's been a guest star or a one episode appearance where you come in, you do it, and then you leave. So this, I haven't had the experience of doing a show where you get that. I hear of actors talking about how you can get deeper and deeper into the character. The writers can adjust to what you're discovering episode to episode. So I look forward to that in the future, or maybe if there's future installments of The Payday. Yeah,
maybe that'd be translated into a great series.
There you go. I think it got, I'm thinking of, you go back, it's got a 60s throwback vibe, and I love that era of television that had the villain of the week type, whether it be Mission Impossible or Columbo or Man from U.N.C.L.E., all of those kind of shows where you can tune into an episode, doesn't matter too much if you've missed one, and then they've got something to solve. You've got the team or the duo, and obviously things don't go according to plan most of the time.
Well, this felt to me like just a really great type of Ocean's 11 type feel to it. Although I love the music, the soundtrack in this is amazing.
I agree. It's 222 music, and Sam Bradford, the director, he had a real vision for what he wanted it to sound like. In addition, myself, I think music is such a big part of movies. Most of the movies that I regard in my top of all time, they usually have a beautiful score or a killer soundtrack. And so with this, we didn't want to just, get someone in to score it like an orchestral, emotional movie or drama or comedy. We wanted to, and we didn't want to tell the audience how to feel either. We wanted it to be a score that was more nods to that cheekiness, the connotations of old big band and funk and not playing by the rules and jazz and all of that tones. So, and it was recorded all with live musicians. So it's not just been created digitally on a piece of software. It's organic. It's living and breathing. So
That's why I think when we talked about, it's like a kickback to those 70s and 60s films. It's that soundtrack that takes me back there because it's so vibrant and so, it's, how can I put it? It's jazz, and it just moves the film forward.
Wonderful.
Yeah, every note.
Yeah, and maybe that, one of our influences was Ocean's 11, and when you go back, and even Ocean's 11 and Out of Sight, that both have Clooney, both Soderbergh movies, and also both with music by David Holmes that brings that throwback funk jazz, still with a modern flavor, and I think it really adds to that. It is that heisty cheekiness.
You were involved with War of the Worlds, and I want to talk to you because that's really a great adaptation of the book. That's a hell of a cast that you were with.
It was, and that was one of those examples of those shows where I was in one episode. It was a limited series, so I was coming in, doing my thing, and acting opposite Eleanor Tomlinson, who is one of the best performers I've acted opposite. And as soon as we met, as soon as we got into the scene, I got excited after the first rehearsal because I just thought, she's bringing it. I'm going to have to bring it. And it was that tennis player, like if you step on court with Federer, then you're going to have to step it up. So that was great. And it was a really cool period adaptation, which H.G. Wells obviously originally wrote it in that era. So I've been every now and then I'll message the writer and say, "Where's the second season? Come on, bring my character back. Let's do it."
Yeah, again, those things, because you're a guest and you're there for one or two episodes, it's great to sit back and watch how this cast works with each other, and then you carry that with you to something that you're doing more frequently. Like you were in The Few, and you had more than a few episodes in that.
Yeah, that was it was a web series that Sam Bradford, the director of The Payday, directed, and it was very quick. It was 4-minute episodes. It was in the I kind of guess when web series were really kicking off. And that was incredible. Again, it was one of those where I was like, I could have done with a bit more meat to get in, and a second series nearly got made, but it didn't quite happen. But we'll see what happens next.
What's the strangest role you've ever played?
What a question. I played, what came to mind? A very odd character I played that was just, nobody liked it, was in E4's Fresh Meat. I had a one-scene role several years ago where I played the rugby captain of the university team, and my job was to heckle and throw eggs at the lead actress for the entire scene. And the director, they couldn't quite fake the egg throws when I was doing it lightly. So the director just said, "Listen, just go for it." And then, so I think the lead actress, by the end of it, was like, "This guy cannot be on set ever again," because I was quite a good shot. So that was just a bizarre one where I'm like, I can't use my Shakespeare training here. What's going on?
Well, you can, but you'd have to be the audience throwing eggs at the players, and so it would be a whole different.
I like that. Back in the day in the Globe.
Yeah, I actually, this is weird, but I actually performed at the Globe as a theater student, and it was just, it was just so incredible to stand there and do. I think we did King Lear. And it was just breathtaking. I mean, I couldn't get my mind around it. And you played the Globe.
I've never played the Globe.
Oh.
Never had the pleasure. Maybe one day we shall see. It's one of the raw pure theatre spaces in the world, I imagine. I've been to watch stuff there, and yeah, be on that bucket list.
Do you enjoy directing or writing more?
Well, I've only directed one thing so far, and it was a short, so it was quite a quick thing. So I don't know enough yet. I did it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. But in terms of writing, I've been doing it for 10 years. I've got a lot more under my belt and a lot more experience doing that. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that short film is received and then see what happens after that. But acting is always number one. It's my main training, and it's what I felt like I always was here to do. And it gives me like a level of pleasure and zen that nothing else does. So but the other two can serve it, as we've seen from, Clint Eastwood, Bradley Cooper, Sylvester Stallone, whoever, name, Olivia Wilde. It's each discipline can influence the other.
Sam Benjamin, it's a pleasure and an honor to speak with you about Payday, about everything that you're doing and have done.
Thank you so much, Tony. It means a lot, and thank you for the kind words. You've given me a good boost of inspiration ahead of the release, so thank you.
You're welcome. And remember, White Knuckle Comedy. That's
White Knuckle Comedy. There we go. I'll make sure that's in there.